Car Crash 4 is here. We're going to do the enemy car. Of course, we need PyGame. We need the config for our height of our screen and our width. Here's something we're going to add, because if the enemy's car always does the same thing, that's going to be pretty boring. So you can think of rand_int as like the dumbest AI ever, because it will randomly change where the enemy's car goes. And that is used a lot in gaming, because you don't want to have the other players, the computer-generated characters, doing the same thing all the time. Well, if you watched Car Crash 3, we are creating the enemy class as a subclass of the superclass, or this is the parent, this is the child, however you want to think about it. When you create an object, you run the init function. So in Python, you call it initialize, maybe initialize an instance. Initialize and constructing, same thing. We are creating pretend we have a cookie cutter. Well, you can't do anything. You can't eat a cookie cutter, but you can use a cookie cutter to make cookies that you can eat. And you can make as many as you want. So we could have many more enemies running around. Ooh, that's what I should do. Have it like after 30 seconds we get another car, maybe. There's all kinds of things you can do. Anyway, this calls the constructor of the superclass, because to have all the methods and properties of this, we have to be a child class of this parent class. Now we don't have to define all of this separately in this file. It's already built into PyGame. And then, of course, we load our little car in. Convert alpha makes it fit the PyGame image format better. Self.image, yep. Rectangle, yep. We randomize, we do everything by rectangles, because rectangles are easier to manipulate than pictures. And we're going to get a random location. So rand_int, if we look at rand_int, we have A, which is 40 pixels from the left, B, and this is going to be our endpoint, we're going to go 40 pixels from the right, and anywhere between 40 pixels from the left and 40 pixels from the right, we're going to randomly put the enemy car. We don't want the enemy car to just suddenly appear on the screen, so we set the Y to -45, which means it's above the screen. And then we start moving it. So you can see this is very similar pattern that we used for player, except we added the randomization to it, and this one does not appear on the screen. Car Crash 4, well, of course, we have to import the enemy class. We set all this stuff is exactly the same, been through it before. We create sprites, well, that didn't change, but look what changed. We're now creating the enemy sprite, the same way we created the player sprite. We say, in this file, there's an enemy class. We want to create an enemy sprite object. So I could create as many enemies as I wanted. I just am doing 2 to keep it simple. We group them together. We add the enemy in here. So the enemy, oh, look at there. The enemy has their own group. That way we can do some specific stuff with all the enemies and not mess up our player. Well, we are going to add everybody into the all sprites group because that has the update and the display method built into it. So we can do everything all at once. We don't have to do separate updates for everybody. Check events hasn't changed. This hasn't changed. This hasn't changed because all we did is add another sprite to it. And then we do all sprite draw and we're done. We update our surface. And let's see what happens with our game. Of course, nobody's moving yet. But there's our car appearing. This guy eventually is going to go back and forth. This car is eventually going to come down the road. Just not in this one. We want to get all of this squared away, and then we'll start doing some moving. Well, I will see you in Car Crash 5. It'll get a lot more exciting.